Hey everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Finding Fandom, episode 11. Wow, my hands won't even do the counting anymore. So, in this one, I'm joined by yet another friend over there in the UK, Adam, also known as Comic Bound, and I had a great conversation with him, as I always have, because I've chatted with him over at the MDC on Mad Dog Comics channels, and that's actually where we met up the first time, and then started to speak privately to each other on social media and whatnot. And I just knew that he was eventually going to be a guest host star on Finding Fandom, as I wanted to explore his fandom and what he thought about the community and how he deals about FOMO and just general stuff within his own fandom. So I hope you'll enjoy this conversation with Adam as much as I did. He's a very swell dude. And without further ado, here is Adam from Comic Bound. Enjoy. Hey Adam, what's up?
Hey, thanks for having me. Nice to finally get to talk to you again properly. It's been a little while.
It's been a long while, and
yeah, true.
You know, in the world of recordings and late uploads, it's gonna be even later than you think when people see this. But I mean, The last time we met was on an MDC chat, I would believe, on Mad Dog Comics.
The last time we met live, probably, but I think we've talked since then. I remember,
absolutely.
Yeah, a couple of times that we've talked since then. Back when I was kind of gutting out my room and rearranging stuff, you gave me a ring that time. I remember that. That was that was fun.
Goddamn! The
that was a while ago.
4 to 5 hour was just gonna call up for 20 minutes, and then suddenly we're rearranging half your room.
Yeah.
Or you are, and I'm just standing by telling you what to do. No, not really, but yeah, that was fun actually, because I mean, starting off with this channel, now I've gotten resonance along the way when it comes to a different way of collecting and everything, but now it feels like even more actually. The audience has changed during the time that I changed my videos, because others are more interested in the new late hottest books and everything, as you know.
Yeah.
But some are actually open to the ideas, and I really like that. And you are one of them. I mean,
oh yeah.
I would think that I gotten into your head a little bit.
You have. You've gotten into my head. I don't know whether it's spread through to my actions quite yet, though.
That's where it starts. The inception.
It's got to start somewhere. I think, every time I, buy a big load of books or anything, I do have the whole kind of like, do I really need this question in the back of my mind now? And I think that's you. You're the little angel on my shoulder.
It's an angel at least.
Yeah.
Good. Who's the devil? No, don't answer that.
That's probably just me. It's just a mini me on the other shoulder here.
If you should say something, I think it should be that. Let's not hang out and anybody here. So, but your room looks great, actually, ever since redecorating it. And I mean, you did sell off some stuff to make room for others, and you bought in some new stuff to arrange it better, to organize it.
I mean, you say I sold some stuff. I put some stuff on a pile to sell. It's still on a pile. I haven't sold as much as I want. I've sold a couple of bits, but I've actually given some bits away as well. That helped a little bit as well.
But that's an even nicer gesture.
Yeah. No, it is good to, for things that I think someone would like. If I can spot a home for something that is on my to sell pile, I'll always try and rehome it in that way rather than selling it as well, just because I like to spread the gift of comics.
That's
'cause
good. What
they're
comics?
awesome.
Do you remember what comics you've given away?
The one that springs to mind, I gave away Black Hammer Volume 1. I had a trade paperback version that I read
Yeah.
first before I upgraded to the library editions. And I was really excited to give that one away because I loved that comic so much.
And
So
getting
that was
them
really
into it
good.
as well.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I do love that series. I'm a bit behind now. I got a couple more library editions since then, but great series.
Yeah, the one series that I think I've given away most is Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona
Oh, yeah,
Staples. The first
cool.
paperback. Yes, but I do try to get to know the person first before I give it away, because you need a certain sense of humor, I guess, and an open mindset for at least the very first issue even.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, not to spoil it because it should be a surprise to anyone that open up that first page, but I mean, you should have a sense of humor, I think.
Oh, yeah. I think you have to, because I mean, it's a hilarious book as well, and that's why I love it. It covers the whole spectrum for me. Like books that do that, I think are special. And yeah, I know what you mean about maybe you have to kind of you know, gel with it, because I mean, for me, I thought when I read it, I was like, oh man, this is so like easy to read. It's really accessible. Like,
Yeah.
who wouldn't like this? And then the Nerd Herd did Saga Volume 1, their comic book reading club, where they review. They all read a book every week, and then they do a
That's
stream on a Wednesday to talk about it.
Those are 4 dudes, right?
Yeah, yeah, or 3 now. One of them had to leave, unfortunately. But the yeah, the back when they were doing Saga, it was the 4 of them, and one of them in particular, Shane from Dorna Comics, he really didn't get on with it, which was a massive shame, because I was I was a bit gutted that someone didn't like it to the extent he did, because I love that book so much. But it is funny that he has started reading on since then as well, just a little bit. I think he made his way through Volume 2, and it was funny because he did a video after he'd read each issue going on through Volume 2, and he slowly started to kind of come around. You can go check it out on his channel. He's got it like issue by issue of him just slowly warming up to it. It's really funny. It's good to see.
I think I want to see that change. I want to see that change. And what I find really impressive is 4 guys coming together each and every week, it sounds like, to read another book.
Yeah, it's no small ask either, because I mean, when you schedule something in every week like that, I mean, that's one book you've agreed to read as a group, and it's taking away from any other reading you had planned to do as well. And they do books of various different sizes, so it's a lot of work for the guys. But yeah, they're like troopers, and it's a great show to watch every week. So yeah.
Well, I guess I'll have to link their channel as well down below. And
yeah, please do. Yeah,
this is all live shows they do. They do it live, the reviews, or is it pre-recorded?
No, it's live. That's one of the best things about it, is you can jump in the chat and you give your score, and they'll do an average of the audience score, and then they'll do an average of their score, and then they've got a leaderboard for every book that they do. So yeah, it's really quite fun to get involved in.
That's real dedication from all the guys, man.
Yeah, it's really good.
Because I've talked to people once or twice. I mean, I'm a pretty fast reader myself with how I do it, I think, and it makes it easier for me to jump on if someone says that, hey, should we have a reading marathon and then discuss this title or that? And I say, yeah, but then I'm already jumping on it, and they are not so much ready to do so. And it's not a shame, really, because we all have different pace that we take it in. And but it makes so that I feel that I'm stressing up other people. So I haven't been able to done a single collab as of yet. But I mean, but if someone says that I'm going to start this book and then I'll discuss it, and then I just ask them, like, tell me when you have like 10 issues left from this book, then I'll start and I'll catch up. something
So
like
yeah,
that.
it doesn't matter when you start. If you're just starting aligned, doesn't mean anything. It's trying to finish at the same time, and
Exactly.
that's the real trick. So
It
yeah,
really is. And trying to scope and measure that, you kind of have to know somebody sort of intimate, I guess, with how fast we're actually reading. And that's where Goodreads is really good. If the
yeah,
persons are updating frequently when we're
yeah,
reading.
yeah. I really love Goodreads. It's kind of something I never really knew about until the last, I don't know, year, and it has been a bit of a revelation. Really
Yeah.
does help keep track of what you're doing, and it's a good marker of progress as well. It does feel good every time you go and tick a book and say, "All right, put that on my read pile." That is it's a good feeling, and it's a little reminder of just how much stuff you've got through,
Yeah.
which is cool.
It's free.
Yeah,
It keeps a log of all the books that you want to read, all the books that you are reading, if you didn't know that already, I mean, and all the books if you read, and get to do the star rating and the reviews if you want to spread the word. And I, of course, try to do as many reviews as I can on the books that I've read, because I want to give people the right perspective of if this really is something for them. So I try to do spoiler-free reviews as much as I can, so not to take anything away from them if they would want to read it themselves, but you can still mark that, I guess, if it's spoilers or not.
yeah. I think you can probably. That does ring a
Yeah.
bell.
And yeah, um, I really like lists overall. I make lists of so much, and hopefully before this interview is live, hopefully I've made one of those videos, and that'll have a link down below as well. And if not, in future, but really, I hope I'll make it, because I love making lists. I think it's a good way to get stuff done. And as you said, when you put something on your red section that you've just finished off, yes, it's the same feeling when you're just scratching off another thing that you've done. And before I discovered Goodreads, I was writing up all the titles that I've read in a month for a week. Still do, actually, so I sort of double log it.
Well, sometimes I've read that actually physically scratching something off a list is a lot more of a kind of marker of success to your brain than it is
Yeah.
doing it digitally. So there's probably something to that.
Yeah, I think so, because it does feel good. But of course, I try not to cheat so much with it. I mean, even if it doesn't come to the things that maybe I should read, maybe if it's something that I should do in the day. I mean, film a video, edit a video, read this book. It must be something that's, I mean, something that you want to do, not something that you do every day. I mean, I hope nobody writes up brush your teeth and then scratches
Yeah.
it off and feel like that's a success for the day, because I hope dearly that you have brushed your teeth, whoever you are that are watching.
Well, you never know. Some people might need that to track their progress. It might just be any little thing will do. And, fair play to anyone that does count that as a massive win. Like, I mean, we've
Yeah.
all got crazy stuff going on. So
Yeah.
some days getting out of bed is is a massive effort. So that can be seen as like
And
literally like climbing a mountain for some people. So
but that's also why I try to make a list the evening before getting to bed, of course. But I mean, if you know why you go up the next day, and it's much more easier to get out of bed. And I'm not talking about I need to go to work, because of course you'll get out of bed to go to work. But if there's something else that can draw you up, maybe a half hour earlier to get something else done, maybe you want to film a short video, maybe you want to read an extra issue or two before going to work, or maybe write your own book or novel. I don't know. I mean, anything that that's creative for you and fulfilling for you. And just by motivating yourself by writing it on a list, I mean, I think that could help.
Yeah. I mean, I should probably do a lot more lists, just because I feel like it suits me, or it would suit me if I did it, because I'm a bit scatterbrained. Like, if it's not written down, I will forget about it. I have the world's worst memory.
Yeah, I'm the
So if
same.
I ever do have stuff I need to get done, yeah, I probably should have a lot more lists.
Maybe
So
this is the start. Who knows?
maybe.
And I mean, it's so available to make them. As we said, we have Goodreads for our books. We have, I mean, any paper at all that you have lying around, just write on anything.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I was just thinking, actually, like, I should probably do a lot more list making when it comes to budgeting and buying the books that I want to like pre-order and stuff, because
nice.
I just
Now we're
like
getting into that.
I knew it would come up talking to you, but I'll preempt it. But like, you know, it did dawn on me recently that I do just like not keep track of at all about like what pre-orders I've got open and what exactly is coming up. It's quite hard to keep track of when you're doing pre-orders and you haven't paid for them, because I pre-order
Yeah.
everything through Forbidden Planet and they don't take the payment till the book ships. And recently,
Okay.
actually, I've been getting a lot of emails saying, "Oh, we've pushed this date back. This book's been delayed a little bit." So not only, you know, have I lost track of when they were originally solicited and stuff when I clicked buy, but
Yeah.
I can't really keep track of when I'm actually going to get charged for them. So at the minute, I've not been charged for a book for a while because nothing's really been shipping. But who knows, like, maybe they'll all start slipping into 1 month and then I'll get charged for like 10 books that I wasn't really expecting
Exactly.
that many in a month. And yeah, I think I probably need to keep a bit of an eye on that one, especially because I don't want it all coming out in one go.
Yeah, I totally understand you. In difference to you, I mean, I also pre-order my books. I use DCB service, as you know. And when I found out that it had the option to pay for your order before, I mean, it was usually wait until the 14th or 15th of the next month, and they would take the charge then. After the final cutoff date and everything for those books that you ordered
Yeah.
the previous month. But when I saw that you could pay right away, I felt so much safer, because then I knew that, in my perspective, that, okay, I have the money now, so I'll spend the money now and pay for it.
Yeah.
Within the budget, of course. I think I try to stick with of course, in the dollar numbers, a $200 budget per month. I think that is quite enough, really. And I think 1 month they surprised me with one or two more solicits that I was interested in. But otherwise, I managed quite well, actually,
Yeah.
with 200. And I think when I was at the craziest mode and bringing in books, I think my budget was at 300. But there was a roof, at least. But it was way overspending when it was 300, I think. I think I overbought some books. But anyways, going back to pre-order and paying them,
Yeah.
I mean, then I know how much I spend on that, at least, and it'll get drawn from the account directly. So I always look at the amount that I do have. But then it also comes to the books that, okay, they're not shipping right away. You're paying for something basically 6 months in advance. And most people want to have the thing that they paid for right away, right? Because if you have my money, then I want my book.
Yeah. I mean, like, I know there's a lot of places where you can pre-order quite expensive things from, and the idea of your money sitting with a company for,
Yeah.
6 months at a time it does make people nervous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would actually love the option to do that on Forbidden Planet. I mean, I don't think there is an option. I think for a pre-order it will just charge when it gets shipped. I would love for it to just take the money straight away. And
I mean,
yeah,
you can always ask. The worst thing they can say is no.
true. But yeah, it's not. I don't see an option built into the website, so I imagine
Oh,
it
okay,
might be
okay.
quite difficult. So
I thought
unless
Forbidden Planet was a physical place as well.
It is as well. It's a bit weird actually, because there are two different companies called Forbidden Planet, and they both are comic book shops. So there's Forbidden Planet International, which I think have a lot of the actual physical stores. I don't know if they do mail order anymore. They did all they used to, I think, have like a website that you could buy from as well, but I think they got rid of that. And now there's just another company called Forbidden Planet.
Okay.
That's who I buy from. So I've never been in a physical Forbidden Planet shop, but I think they've got physical shops as well, but maybe not quite as many.
Yeah, but
I'm not sure.
you have no idea how much confusion just has been cleared up.
Okay, cool.
Thanks to you saying that, because I thought it was the same place. I thought it was the physical comic store as well as pre-ordering on a website. Well,
some of them might be, but not all of them.
Okay.
It's still confusing.
Let's just drop it then.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah. So if you had the option, you would go the same route and prepay for it as well. Okay, and I mean, overall, anyone, if you're budgeting your comic books, budget your whole damn life in the month and see how much it actually takes. Because I mean, what is the standard? 10% goes into savings. I think that's the saying.
Is it that? Yeah, maybe
it should. I think it should be, because I mean, I read these horror stories and watch these videos on how many people are living from paycheck to paycheck, month to month. It's horrifying, and that means no money is left for savings.
Yeah,
and I mean, that is like because of debt and everything, also, of course.
Yeah, no. To be fair, I do try and put away a bit each month, but you know, I'm not that religious about it or anything. It is, you know, I'm quite comfortable. Like, as long as I can pay my bills and you know, I've got a roof over my head, like the rest is there just to kind of enjoy. Because I mean, saving's always good. I've got a bit like of a, you know, squirreled away, but like I don't want to religiously save either without too much of a goal in mind. Maybe I should have one, but
I mean, you can start with small goals. I mean, it's a journey and everything. I mean, you're not aiming to become a millionaire or anything. I mean, it's just, I mean, economic freedom. Can you call it that? Do you call it that? I mean, being in a place where you feel that you're not worrying for money, I think that's just a blessed state, because there's it's so many people that are worrying about money, and just because you're collecting comic books, collecting comic books shouldn't make you worry about money, and that's why budgeting is a good thing. Yeah,
I've never had to, you know.
That was not on you. That was just in general.
I just mean that anyone seeing the amount of books I buy as well might feel like I don't know, the envy, but I do work hard for what I have. I feel like, anyway, and like, you know, I know not everyone is in a good position, so making sure that you're weighing up what you're buying. Like, you know, for some people, is that book really worth it? When, I don't know, like one omnibus, really, you could feed a whole family for a week on what it takes to buy an omnibus. Like, you know, if you think about it like that, or, well.
Okay, so 20 minutes in, I haven't even started asking those standard questions yet. I mean, for people that hasn't yet had the opportunity to find your channel and everything and know your story, but how did you discover comic books, Adam?
So it's going to be a really boring, generic answer, this one, because I feel like a lot of people will say the same thing.
I mean, a lot of people has the same origin. I can mention a few of them, but yeah, go for it.
I think this one will sound familiar to you, but I think my way in was basically the 90s animated cartoons, like Batman the Animated Series, X-Men, SpiderMan, you know, that all those amazing cartoons from the 90s. And that was my first experience of all of the characters and the worlds and stuff. So that was my way in, really.
Yeah, I never grow tired of hearing that answer,
Yeah.
actually, because it just makes me feel that I'm more in common with people.
That's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a lot of us.
I can't tell what if it was Batman or if it was Spider-Man that was the first series, but I remember humming the tunes always as a little 4-year-old running around in daycare. Me and my best friend got told to shut up at one point because we were playing and screaming and playing Spider-Man and everything.
How dare you? I know.
How dare you? I think they got sick and tired of hearing the intro song to the Spider-Man 19 series at one point.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But yeah, I think my first one would have probably been the Batman animated series because
Nice.
yeah,
Dark.
yeah, definitely.
I don't realize it maybe in the beginning, but
yeah, now as an adult looking back, I realize how dark and edgy it was. It's just like as a kid, you don't really think of it like that. Like I knew I loved it, but I had no idea why why it was so good and why I'd love it so much.
Because you haven't been introduced to the adult world yet, so you don't see it with that eyes, of course.
Yeah.
Just the same with the Batman 66 series. I don't know if have you seen a couple of episodes?
Oh yeah, and I used to watch that when I was a kid as well, but I think I would have always preferred the cartoon. But I did love that because my dad really loved the 60s Batman.
Because that has the quality of watching it with two different eyes also. But it's the opposite of Batman the animated series. As you get older, it gets more campier instead of more darker.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're young, it's totally serious and all on the edge.
Yeah, I mean, I never realized they're quite like inverted like that, but yeah, that's. And
I just realized that
they're
now.
Both really good. Like I love. Yeah, there's some great episodes. Like I really need to go back and rewatch them. But
yeah,
I used to love that. I used to have. I've lost count of the amount of times I would have had like a model of that Batmobile. I used to have like the the little toy cars, like the Hot Wheels ones, and. Yeah, just
the Batmobile from the 1966 series.
Yeah. I found one the other day when I was clearing out my room, and I can't remember when I would have got that, but yeah, I just stumbled across it.
Nice. Yeah. Is it like an Eagle Maw statue or something like that?
No,
it's bigger.
I think it's just a little Hot Wheels car. I'm not sure.
Hot Wheels car. Yeah, sorry. I was thinking if it was like I don't know. Well-made small model, or maybe it's still well-made.
It was still decent. Like,
Hot Wheel.
I'll try and find it. I can't remember where I put it now. I shoved it away somewhere. I've got a lot of stuff. So
yeah, we all do. I mean, I tried to go back to watch the 1966 series, but I think I went 3 or 4 episodes in. I felt that I didn't have the same drive the second time around, maybe because I never experienced it except for the movie in my younger days. So I didn't have that nostalgia to push me through it. And you shouldn't have to feel that, okay, I'm pushing through the series now. Okay, yes, 100 more episodes to go. You shouldn't feel like that. You should be, oh no, it's only 100 more episodes.
Yeah. I mean, I think, if I was watching it again, I imagine a lot of what I would enjoy about it would be the nostalgia. But yeah, I do wonder what I'd think of it if I watched it again now, because I don't know if I have really watched it since I was a kid. So it would be interesting.
You'll get a different perspective, believe me, whether if you've seen it for the first time or not. But still, I think it's one of those things that one should explore at least. You don't have to watch the whole series, but you should explore it a bit so you know what people are talking about in the documentaries or just in the community itself.
Oh, yeah.
And see what it is with your own eyes. And, of course, Adam West and Burt Ward.
Yeah, exactly. Adam West, he was amazing. And he's a lot of people's favorite Batman. So, Can't
And
ignore that.
he has such a good sense of humor. Of course, appearing in Family Guy for decades. I didn't even think of it in the beginning. I recognized the voice and everything, but I didn't know from where. And then the internet came around, and yeah, it's the same guy. I mean, and he's funny.
Oh, he's hilarious. Like that's part of his whole charm as Batman as well. Is he's just incredibly charismatic, but
Very
the comic timing
self-aware.
and it's just I love it. Yeah, he's great Batman.
And no padding at whatsoever. 100% pure West.
Yeah. You're making me want to go watch it. I've already got enough stuff.
I think I make a couple of people want to watch it now, I think.
Yeah,
Hope so.
probably.
Okay, let's see here. We're talking about Adam, this is not an attack. Do you know how many books you have?
Not a clue. I was actually thinking about this the other day. I think I was watching your latest interview as of today,
this video.
anyway.
As of recording,
which was the Minister of Comics, Taylor Brown, and I'm pretty sure you got around to talking about when you going away from where you currently live, you had like 900 books. Was it 900?
Yeah,
getting the number wrong?
When I left this apartment for moving away, 900 plus books. Maybe it was 1,000 really, because I stopped counting for that video.
Really? Okay. So I remember you got around to talking about that, and it did just make me think as I was sat in my living room surrounded by books, and I was like, well, I wonder how many I've got. Like, I've never attempted to count them. But now I've got, this room, this is kind of like my office room upstairs that, has quite a lot of books you can see here.
Yeah, I can see some
another
there.
shelf that way.
We have some Blu-rays on that shelf also.
Yeah, that's all Blu-rays and DVDs. And I've got 2 shelves downstairs, 2 lots of Kallax, as well as like a thin Billy as well. So it's quite a few downstairs. I have no idea. I could probably try and work it out based on like an average of how many fits in a Kallax times the amount of cubes, or
exactly,
and then, but even then it would probably not be too accurate. I have no idea.
I think it's still an accurate answer, because as you said, it's spread out in the house and everything, and it makes it to feel that maybe, I mean, and this is not, I'm not judging anyone by the size of their comic book collection, whether it's big or small. But I mean, when it comes to knowing how much you have and the feeling of, do I have too much, or do I have, or I don't have enough? I mean, with spreading it out, you don't see it all at one place.
Yeah.
That sort of affects that. And when I moved and had finally all of my bookshelves in one and the same room, because I used to have 3 Billies in the living room and 3 in the bedroom. So I knew I had a lot of books, of course, but to see it all at one spot,
I mean,
it really gives another perspective.
I've not had all my books in one spot like that since I moved into this house, where I had a lot less books at that point. Like I had prior to moving in here, I had basically one Billy, like a big one, like not the skinny one. It was like a full-size Billy that was full of books, and that was, I think, my only shelf, and that was a lot of books to have in boxes and move with. So like, I completely feel your pain where you had to move with like more than that, because that was hard enough anyway. So and I have a lot more now. So I do want to kind of count them now that you've asked the question, just so that I know. Like,
if it's only for your knowledge, I think that's good enough to actually have a number. And how does that sit with me? It's not really, I mention this all the time, it's not a magic number out there, what's the perfect sized collection or something. It's all behind the meaning of every book that you have, I think.
And I think that's the important thing, is the books that I want to keep will mean a lot to me, and some of them I haven't even read yet, so I don't even know if they belong in my collection or not yet.
You'll know
I
after you
mean,
read them.
exactly. And I've got, I think one of the important things I might need to count is how many books I've got in my to sell pile, because that might motivate me to start keeping track of that and get rid, because that's just ever growing. I just don't really gel with like eBay and stuff, and the idea of selling is a very stressful thing to me. I know you've got a quite a good routine going where you sell
Yeah, I
just as much as you
try.
buy, so I don't know how you do that.
I mean,
But
it's going back to the lists and everything. I mean, I think I've read like 100 books this year, maybe a bit more, and I checked on the titles that I've read, and then I checked on the names and what wasn't left in my collection anymore, and it turns out that half of them were sold and gone. So every second book that I read, I sell.
well,
Almost.
yeah. I mean, even just almost, that's quite an interesting statistic. It's like, 50% of the books you read
Yeah.
don't make the cut immediately. So,
But I mean, 30 or so of those books were like the Spider-Man Dan Slott and Brand New Day
like a big
collected
bulk.
editions.
Yeah.
And I was getting into the mindset of, okay, they have to release this in Omnibus someday.
If they don't, I'm gonna stop buying Marvel, because out of protest, not really.
They'll
I probably
notice
won't.
we have a loss in the section of the UK here. What is happening, people?
These
What can
Forbidden
we
Planet
do?
numbers have gone down a bit. Yeah, no, I think they have to, and I'm kind of expecting, not expecting, but I'm kind of hoping that next year will be like the year of Spider-Man, because I think that's
Yeah.
is it 60 years
Yes.
since Spider-Man was
Since the Amazing
created.
Fantasy came out, I
Yeah.
guess.
So for a big anniversary year, I think they'd be they'd be wise to make a good show of it, and a big theme next year might be Spider-Man books. So fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And let's see here. So I got rid of those in hope for that. And if they don't release it, I just said to myself, okay, I'll read these issues digital then, and be okay with not having these ones in the physical format. But I saved all the omnibus and all the deluxe size that I felt were good enough and didn't have to have an omnibus upgrade. But
Yeah.
if it comes, I'll probably upgrade to get a even lower number with my collection.
And it's skinnier on your shelf as well, because those covers make a difference. Like it's one of the reasons I got the omnibus for Why the Last Man. I did have the 5 hardcovers, and I was like, if I just get the one omnibus, it's like this big, whereas the 5 hardcovers are like this big. So just a space saving technique.
Yeah.
So
I did the same thing, and I kept the 5 Deluxe until I got the Omnibus arriving, so I really could see how much space I saved, because I was thinking that I can sell these off easily. I don't have to do it before I get it. And yeah, it really is a space saver. Also, I think that this is why I like the Omnibus format when it comes to a closed off series. Not Spider-Man or Batman, because those will never stop. You'll have to find your own ending, I think. But when it comes to Why the Last Man, as you said, I really appreciate the Omnibus, because then if I start reading it, I'll keep on going until it's done. Instead, because if I had volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, maybe I read volumes 1 and then I read volume 2. But then since I finished volume 2, I mean, maybe another book sneaks in between and disrupt everything, and then I'll just dwindle away from that book. Because this has happened with not Why the Last Man, but it happened with Irredeemable. I read volume 1 in my reread session, and then after finishing that, I think I started reading something else, and then I never got back to it. So if it was all in one book, I think I would have kept on till the end.
I get the logic there, but that wouldn't save me. I I don't have well, I say I don't have a problem getting distracted. It is a problem. I get distracted really easily. So I could make it a quarter of a way through an omnibus and then start reading something else, because I'm always juggling different things that I read,
Okay.
because I don't know, like I've never been able to focus on one thing, and not just comics, like one thing in general. Like comics isn't my only kind of thing that I do. Like I'm constantly juggling like lots of different
Yeah.
things. Like I don't know if I've got some kind of like undiagnosed attention problem, but a lot of people understand, who know me well, understand how easily distracted
Yeah.
I can get. So I think it's really easy for me to like get a part way through a book and get completely derailed by something else. So
Yeah, but I did the same thing with a lot of image titles when they all came out at the same time. Like the golden age of image was like when Saga and
yeah,
Shoe,
2012, yeah,
East
around
of
then.
West, Wicked plus the Divine I really liked. And I think I was reading Wicked and the Divine, Revival, and Chew, maybe. I think I jumped back and forth depending if I thought one issue was maybe a bit slower than the previous ones, then I just changed the title and went
Yeah.
back and forth between all the storylines.
Were you reading all those in singles back then? Is that
I
what
read
you
it
were
in the hardcover
Okay.
collection, so I had volumes 1 out of each, and then
Right.
jumped back and forth between the issues.
Because I was reading a lot of those titles in singles back then as well, and it's the kind of thing that I feel like as a reader, I'm more built towards single issues, because I really miss the
Yeah.
days where I'd go and get a stack of comics and they're all different series, and I'd read like one tiny slice of like 10 different things. Like for me, that suits how scatterbrained I can be about stuff, where
Yeah.
I don't hold my attention very well. So that was quite a nice way for me to read. Whereas I much prefer, for just convenience sake, having everything in a book you can just pull off your shelf. Like I don't gel with the aspect of singles where you get individual issues and you bag and board them, and you probably never see them again because you want to buy the hardcover because it's easier. Like, so yeah, in some ways I really miss single issues, but from a convenience point of view,
Yeah, I mean,
I think
I've been in that game too. I like the
yeah.
covers, the variant covers also. I
Oh yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it spent so much money, and but I mean, just with the feeling of having the floppy and everything, because if you, let's face it, paperbacks are probably the most comfortable thing to read, and that was what I started with getting into comic books, and then getting into a pull list and having single issues every month, because I live in Sweden, as you know, and they can only ship all of the diamonds shippings once per month, because week per week would be too much on shipping from the US. So I think it was when DC started with all of their weekly series. As you know, I'm a big DC fan, and they came out with Batman Eternal, Future's End, Earth 2, World's End at the same time. I mean, 3 weekly series at the same time. And it made up for so many issues when collected for a whole month before shipping over here. So it was like 4 issues of each title. So it was like a Marvel paperback is 4 issues, some of them. It was like a Marvel paperback of DC content each month. So, and some months I would have, because I was simultaneously buying big hardcover editions that I couldn't finish and had a backlog on. So sometimes my single issues would stack up 2 months together. So it's 8 issues of Batman Eternal reading all at once, and Future's End and everything. And I mean, if it's like that, why I could buy the paperback collection instead, because I can't keep up.
True. Yeah, you might as well. I mean, yeah, that's quite a lot when it's like, I think the only thing I've ever had comparable to that was, I think when they used to do SpiderMan almost weekly, it was
Yeah,
like, I think it was
every
3
third
times every
week, like.
4 months, or yeah, it was every, it was a
Or
lot.
three
Like they
times
would,
per month.
yeah, exactly. It wasn't quite weekly. It was like every third, no, every fourth week they'd skip one or something like that. It was a
Okay.
lot. And I remember, I think there was a couple of weeks where I couldn't make it down to get my order, and I'd come in. It was like I've got all these titles, and half of them are Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But I did. I still love that era of Spider-Man. It's my
Yeah,
favorite.
the
So
Spidey brain trust era.
exactly, yeah,
Like
yeah,
four different writers, much like they made up the team on Batman Eternal. I think that was four writers as well. The same with the 52, which was, I guess, DC's first experiment with a weekly
yeah.
release title.
Which
And
I still
probably,
haven't. I haven't read that yet, and I've been meaning to for decades now, or a decade. And like, I'm so happy that they've just solicited a reprint of the Omnibus because,
yeah.
yeah, I can
So
finally
this
read it.
recording, I finished that off this week reading it,
Nice.
and it still holds up. I think it's
Yeah,
still one of the best developed comics that they made with that format, and it still holds up today.
that's good news because, yeah, I really can't wait to read it. I mean, some of the talent involved, and the good
Yeah,
things I've heard about it, I've got quite a high bar. So, but I
yeah.
think I'm hopeful that it will meet my expectations. So,
You have Jeff Johns,
yeah.
Grant Morrison.
Yeah, Mark fucking
Mark,
Wade. Am I allowed to swear?
I can bleep that out. It's
Yeah,
okay.
cool.
Mark fucking Wade.
Just,
And
Marcus coined his middle name, so I kind of,
Keith Giffen, I want to say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds right. Yeah,
And when reading it, I can feel, because as I would assume that they write that title, just 52 specifically, is that each writer has certain characters that they write the storyline for, and then they mend it all together. Because taking one issue each when every hero is doing a different adventure, I don't think that would last, because they all had different ideas. So they all took a character each and made a storyline through and through for a whole year.
I mean, that just sounds really awesome. Like, how has it took me this long to get around to reading it? I think I can't remember when it was originally coming out in singles, but I think as I was getting into comics, it was
Must
kind of
have been
wrapping up, maybe.
Must have been 2007, because I think that Infinite Crisis was an event during the summer or the year of 2006. I think so.
I mean, it sounds about right. I think I must have just been a very new reader at that point then. I think I thought in my head I'd got into comics in around 2005. I think it was around then, because
Right.
I think what I did was I went to see Batman Begins, which I think was 2005, and then
Nice.
afterwards, me and my brother and a mate went to, hey, let's go see if we can go to a comic shop and get some Batman comics, and we all came out with a comic. I don't think any of us picked a Batman comic. I came out with an issue of Action Comics. That was my
Nice.
first comic, just because I loved the cover, but. Yeah.
Do you still have that?
Yeah, I've still got it. It was the first
Nice.
issue of Jeff Johns' run with Richard Donner, and it had the variant cover. I didn't know it was a variant at the time. I picked it up and was like, "That's awesome! I'll get that." So yeah, that was my first comic.
Nice. I don't think I have my first comic. I have some old comics. Superhero comics wasn't that widely available when I was little, but I have a few. Still don't know what I'm gonna do with them. They're in a box and in the basement and everything. Yours probably framed.
Well, I've got boxes full of single issues I still haven't got rid of yet. But that to me is as daunting as trying to sell the hardcover stack I've yet to get rid of as well. Like it's all
One
just
thing
piling
at a
up.
time.
Yeah.
One thing at a time. I think that's a good advice as well.
I kind of like the idea of my singles of stuff that they haven't really made good hardcovers from and getting them custom bound. Like there's just something really cool about the idea of like repurposing them like that I think I might give that a go, because I bet there's some stuff in there that I'm just like, oh, I love this comic, but there is no hardcover. Like it didn't do well enough to get a hardcover or anything like that. Maybe there's a trade paperback, but I like hardcovers. So
I talked with Matt and Mike from the Hardcover Comic about this.
Yeah,
because
those guys are big advocates of the custom bind.
That's why I had to talk with them. And of course, the availability of finding bookbinders that'll do it for a good pricing is, of course, also a hunt in itself, instead of hunting for the book that you want or hassling Marvel and DC to make the book.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, when it turns up and you can see all the custom books and custom dust jackets and everything, we probably every comic book fan would make a better job instead of the actual companies themselves.
I mean, when you're designing your, well, it's not. You can design your own series without a logo change on it, then you've already won up DC, haven't you? So
I guess so. Holding my thumbs every time when you have a free omnibus set or something that you're collecting.
Yeah.
Let's see here. You sort of touched on this, I guess, but do you have, if any, some advice on how to avoid the fear of missing out within this hobby, as some people can feel is affecting them by watching the videos and the collection videos and such and such?
So, I mean, I think avoiding FOMO, like the actual fear itself, is probably quite hard to do, because if you're like me, you'll always feel
how to work with it, of course.
Yeah, it's all about just how to deal with it. And I think
I have to rewrite this question.
Sorry, I've derailed your question. So, I mean, for me, it would all just be about weighing things up and putting stuff into perspective. Like I kind of said earlier, maybe here's this one omnibus, but how much is that against maybe your weekly shop? Is it that you're spending more on books than you're spending more on like food or bills or whatever? If you put it in perspective, like if I wanted to do something like book a holiday, how many books is that? Like you can weigh it up like that, and maybe you can start to evaluate, whether you really need these things or not. I'm trying to do a bit more of that myself. It's all about priorities, though. If for some reason you'd rather have like 4 omnibuses instead of a weekend away, then that's up to you. Everyone lives differently, but as long as you're doing it consciously. And one other tip I did hear kind of works is Blackpole from the Comic Board. I think he's been doing this recently. He's instead of just buying something, he'll just add it to his basket and then go away for a bit and then come back, and then all of a sudden he's got 6 things in his basket. But when he comes back to it, he's like, oh, I don't really actually need that one thing, I'll take it out of the basket. And then he goes away again, and then he'll come back, and then all of a sudden he's like, I could probably get rid of that one as well. And then sooner or later he's got like one thing left in his basket, and that's the thing he actually buys. Whereas like the actual act of adding it to the basket fulfilled that kind of that need and the dopamine hit you get from clicking buy. Like that's already, the itch has been scratched from just adding it to the basket. So after that, he's then been able to step back from the situation, rationalize it a bit, come back, and then decide, well, actually, maybe I don't need all 6 of these. Maybe I can just have these really, essential ones that I wanted from that group or whatever. And I can't say I've tried that yet, because it doesn't really work when you pre-order everything anyway. But I mean,
if there's an itch for anything, in your daily life, just putting it in your basket and then sleep on it or walk away for a bit. Taking some extra time and not going on impulse, because impulse would be putting it in your basket, click buy, and you're done. But actually thinking about it, that's very sound advice.
It didn't come from me, a much wiser man than me.
But still, you said about putting it all in perspective as well. True. I could buy this, but I could also have that. And what brings more value to me right now, maybe what I'm trying to buy right now already could be filled with what I have.
Yeah, 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 exactly. I'm sure we've all got a good backlog, and I
Yeah.
mean, I know I do. I mean, I still buy new stuff because, in my mind as well, that's what I love about this as a hobby is that these books will always be relevant. It's not like you're buying like Blu-rays that will go out of date in 10 years time because they'll be 4K or 8K or
Yeah.
whatever, like you won't need to upgrade. Like as long as you can still see with your eyes, you can read the books. So as, touch wood, my vision doesn't fail me, and that I can't enjoy my books like that anymore. But as long as I think they're future-proof in that sense that I'm quite happy to buy things and have them sit there for a long time unread if I need to, because I think everything I buy comes from a place of me wanting, getting excited about that thing. Like, and it's just a matter of time in my mind before I actually get around to it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see here. Did you used to visit the annual Comic-Con convention?
Never been to any Comic Con convention in any shape or form.
Have
So
joining the YouTube comic book community, has that changed anything in your desire to explore?
yeah, I mean, now I kind of feel like I've got people who I could go with because I've never really had many friends who have been into this kind of stuff. Like I've got friends who are into like, the entertainment side of Comic Cons, like the movies and stuff, but
Yeah.
I've never had many friends who are into like the reading the comics side. So that's what's exciting to me about Comic Cons and conventions is that side of it, and that's the reason. That's what would draw me to one. So it would be good if I had people who also loved that side of it to go with.
Yeah.
And I feel like now I finally have a few mates who I've met through the community who I could do that with. So hopefully it's just a matter of time now before
Yeah.
one pops up that we can all go to, and it'd be quite a good day out, I reckon.
Definitely. Okay. What is the best thing about the YouTube comic book community or the community itself? Your choice.
So, I mean, for me, like I love the comic book community on YouTube more than I love the actual YouTube part of it. Like, for me, one of my favorite things, like I mentioned before, is the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. Every week, um, they can kind of encourage you to read a book that you've never read before because they're reading it, so oh, I'll read that along with them. And no matter, even if I love the book, if I hate the book, it doesn't matter because I know I'm going to have a great time discussing it. And yeah, it's happened a couple of times. I've read books that I never would have read and I absolutely hated them. But I'm so glad I did read them because I had a good place to go and, you know, discuss it. And yeah, we all had a bad time with a couple of books recently. And it was like everyone was in that same boat. And I just loved that. Like it was great. And even though we all kind of hated the books, it just made it a lot more worth it. And when you're in a position where reading a terrible book is awesome, like that just says a lot. Like I never would have that without the community. And
I think
yeah,
that makes for a much better conversation talking about something. Do you also hate this? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Is
It's
that
therapeutic.
instead of everybody, because normally everybody agrees that this was great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I mean, there is a bit of that as well. There's a lot of times where there'll be a book and everyone pretty much gushes about it, which is also good. Um, I don't know if there's been many of those though. It's very rarely unanimous just because of the amount of different voices involved. But
Yeah.
it's always interesting. Like everyone brings their own perspective to a book, and I think for me, having people on YouTube who give you ideas of things to read that you never would have read before, and people to discuss things with that you never would have met before. That's to me the best thing about the community, and
Yeah.
it's why I'm still sticking around in it. So yeah,
That's good. That's good. We hope we stick around for a lot longer. And some of the standard questions, because as you know, why I created Finding Fandom in everything, because Yeah, I just want to know what sparks the joy and everything, and yeah, and how would you yourself, what makes you a comic book fan, and how would you describe your fandom?
I mean, do you want me to answer these like one at a time? Because I feel like they're
You
two different,
we
very different questions.
it's
So
all different how people actually take these
yeah,
questions. So we'll take one at a time. What makes
so
you a comic book fan? Is it just because I read comic books, or is it something else?
I mean, I think so. I think you have to actually like the act of reading books and enjoy what specifically the comic book as a medium can do that other things can't. And that's why I love them, because some things you know, or we've all read one of those books where you're like, wow, you could only ever do this as a comic, and there's just something really cool about that. And
Yeah.
you know, even some books that you know, technically you probably could do it as a movie or a cartoon or whatever, but just it would be the most ambitious thing ever. So yeah, there's just some things that comics can do that other things can't,
Yeah.
and that's why I love comics. And I think that's a
So
bit
the
of a shared
appreciation of
thing.
the medium.
The medium, yeah, you have to kind of love what comics can bring to the table
Yeah.
as a medium. I think that makes a lot of comic book fans, but that's the thing I love most about them.
One thing that comes to mind when it comes to something comic books can do that most movies choose to not do, but they can, is the narrating part of it.
Yeah, yeah, it's very rare, but like I can see why. Um, I'm trying to think of a film with a like a narration now. What's a good one that springs to mind?
American Psycho, but that's based on a novel.
So that,
But
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
but still, that's why I like novel books, because I appreciate how a person can write into somebody else's mind or several people's mind and get to hear not only what we're talking about but also their thoughts, and that's
yeah.
still what comic books brings, but the movies shuts out. I
But as
think
well, I think with
most
stuff
of
like
them.
narration as well, like there are some comic books that have narration that I feel like it would be better if they cut that out. Like there's a couple of times in recently I read Tokyo Ghost. That's Rick Remender, and I feel like he as a writer tends to narrate quite a lot, but I don't necessarily think it's one of his strengths. And for me, I would be a lot happier if he just cut all that out and left it to the artwork to explain some of those things
You
or
just go to
whatever.
story and action.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it can work the other way as well. So, and narration's a tricky one. I feel like very few people have like nailed it as well as like Ed Brubaker. He's like for
Yeah,
me, like he's like a master at narration. Like a lot of his stuff is like that because it's like quite pulpy and stuff. It's I think he's really nailed that.
definitely. Okay, so let's take the second question here.
Yeah. So
Like I said, it's different how people, if it's a philosophical full question or not. But how would you describe your fandom of the medium then?
um this is a really tricky question
I know
because
it's so
yeah,
up there.
I
Like,
think for me, like my fandom is kind of like not just for comics, but for everything is a bit scattered. Um, I do struggle with my comic book fandom in a way because like
yeah,
I love reading and I love books, but I don't always necessarily find myself devoted to it because I have so many other things I enjoy doing as well. And I think I do worry sometimes that I spread myself too thin when it comes to the amount of stuff I want to be able to read and the amount of different things I want to be able to read as well. Like, I don't have any focus. Like a lot of people might have, like, I don't know, a bias towards like Marvel or DC and only buy Marvel books, only buy DC. Like I could never do that. I love too much of everything. So
yeah,
in that way, I kind of spread myself too thin. So for me, my fandom is kind of
scattered.
yeah, scattered.
Mhm.
It's
First
yeah, it's
time,
a weird
I
one.
still like it because everyone summarizes almost their feelings and their fandom with one word. And I don't think it's bad. It's scattered right now, and
Mm.
however you take it, I mean, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just that there is a lot of stuff to discover with
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah. And not yes, I mean, just if you just take comics, there's just so much. But I kind of have the same problem with other things as well, like gaming and
Yeah.
movies and TV and hobbies. Like I try and do too many
Yeah.
things, really.
You know, I made the video about
Yeah,
hobbies and
yeah,
priorities, and it was almost that I didn't make it because I was busy that week, and I was thinking there's probably not going to be a video this Friday. But
yeah,
then, as I said that to myself and let go of it, it became easier actually to sitting down and make the thing. And one of the summaries of my hobbies weren't meant for me to be the best at them and such made it even more easier to feel that I can practice these things at the same time as making YouTube videos and reading comics, but it doesn't have the same strength of attention, of course, and so my mind is and attention is a bit divided and scattered.
yeah.
But it doesn't have to be a bad thing just because you try to nurture all the things somewhat as best you can.
Yeah, yeah, it's not definitely not a bad thing because like I'm sampling so many different things, even if I'm not going hardcore into one thing or another. Like I know your chat with Mitch
Yeah,
Omnibuddy. I remember him kind of mentioning that he made it sounded like he was literally a discussion with him and his wife and everything about him sitting down and just going, right, I'm gonna focus on
yeah,
comics as a hobby and I'm gonna sell most of my pop collection and just I'm not gonna be collecting all these different things. I'm gonna focus. And I was like, fair play. Like I wish I could do that, but I also
yeah,
don't wish I could do that because I would be I don't ever want to limit myself to one area of something like that. I just love too much, too many different things. But um, there's definitely an argument for both, if you know what I mean. Because like
definitely.
I would get a lot more out of whatever thing I did choose to focus on. But for now, for me and the way I am, I'm kind of suited to just being a bit all over the place. So
Yeah.
that's me.
With my partner, I try to kind of put her in the position that I put myself for her. I mean, she has a lot of clothes and everything, and she
Yeah.
wanted to change her style and everything. And I said, well, where's all that gonna go then? And she saw it too, so she was like open to, okay, so we'll go through my stuff and we'll see what we can take out. And then she flipped the table, and
Mm.
not literally, but I mean, she turned the situation around with me and my movie collection.
Okay.
And since I've already asked her all the questions, are you going to use this? Have you used this? And such. He used the same questions at me, and it was like a whole different situation hearing it from someone else instead of my own voice in my own head if I'm gonna use it or watch it again. And she didn't make me sell everything, of course, but I mean, out of 4 boxes that I moved back home here with me was filled with DVDs and Blu-rays. One of them we let go of. Of course, I sampled which ones
Yeah.
that I took away, but still, she got rid of or helped me choose 1/4 of the collection there.
I mean, I think, yeah, at the end of the day, doing things like that every now and again is really good because it lets you kind of, you're iterating on your own collection. You're kind of whittling it down to the bare essentials. And I think, yeah, over time, I'll be doing that when I figure out how to actually unload and get rid of my stuff on eBay. Like I want that to be a big part of my collecting is also getting rid. I've already started by at least removing stuff from my shelves and considering them gone from the collection. They're just now sat in a pile. I just need to
That's
know the best way to get rid of them. So I
Yeah,
want to
but I
I want
mean,
to
there are videos on how to boil water. I'm
yeah,
certain that you can find a video if you search for it on how to best organize and sell off your stuff.
yeah. I think it's just a matter of a scary thing for me at first. I need to ease my way into it. It's just
Yeah.
a stressful like thing, because as a seller, I want to be a good seller. I don't want
Yeah, of
people
course.
to be unhappy, and I don't want to get scammed equally. You know, I've heard a lot of horror stories, so it's just me. I've got quite an anxious brain, so it doesn't gel well with me. But I feel like I just need to do it and get used to it and
Yeah.
become part of my routine. So
Hey man, if you ever need some advice or help on the side, on backstage, I'll help you out.
yeah, thanks, man.
So,
Appreciate it.
okay, one more question. The easiest one for tonight is where can people find you?
So yeah, you can find me on YouTube under Comic Bound, and on Instagram comic_bound. I'm not that active on there, but yeah, that's my channel. I try and upload things every now and again. I'm not completely regular, but yeah, just go check it out. You might like some of the stuff I've got on there.
I'll link everything down below, of course.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And the Nerd Herd, I guess.
Yeah, please go check out the Nerd Herd. Like, go, yeah. Every week they do a book, so you know there's always something good going on.
Okay. Well, Adam, thanks so much for doing this, man.
No, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And thank you all that has been watching. We have another interview next week with Kate's Comics that Adam has also met, and I'm even more stoked to meet this guy. Here he is, a real good lad.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.